So she comes into the police station. She's like, well, did you guys find Uncle Sam? Oh, we don't know about Uncle Sam, but we found some other people, some bodies. And so she's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, we got a call from a storage unit. There was an intense smell coming from one of the units. Inside of that unit that was owned by your ex-husband Howard and his mom Betty, there was a hammer, a hatchet, scissors, plastic tarp, gloves, and these two giant like plastic containers. And when you opened them up, the smell with the amount of maggots was absolutely insane. They were like, we found bodies and we need your help to get a confession. And that's when she realizes, oh my god, Samantha and Adam are missing. She decided that she was gonna wear a wire and go to Howard's mom's house and try to get some information. She goes to Howard's mom's house, and immediately Howard's mom and the aunt were there, and they deadbolted the door behind her, which is something that they just don't do. And then the next plan was for her to turn on the news. So the police had arranged with the local media that at a certain time the news would play about the storage unit bodies. Wilda Gadd was a woman who lived in northern Georgia. Wilda was raised with Howard as her cousin, but they are not biologically related. So they end up getting married, and because Wilda was really close with her Uncle Sam, and she just grew up with him as a freaking cousin. Then one day, Howard's mom is like, I'm divorcing you, Uncle Sam. You're charging me way too much on taxes. This is robbery. Howard moves on with his biological mom, and the rest of the family just move on as normal. So Wilda stopped seeing Howard. And now Wilda and Howard found themselves at a point in life where both of them were divorced, they had kids, you know, they were just kind of living that like single parent life. Almost immediately, they ended up moving in together and getting legally married. But it's not illegal because it's not actual. She adopts Kelly, and everything in their marriage is just going peachy clean. It's just amazing. It's beautiful. It's like love and romance. Wilda goes to Howard's aunt's house, and she starts talking to that aunt, and the aunt is like, remember Howard's, you know, Kelly's biological mom. And the aunt's like, Howard didn't tell you? Oh my gosh. You know, her name is Debbie, Kelly's mom, and Howard's first wife, Debbie. She was an amazing mom, and she had taken all of her personal belongings and left Kelly and Howard just like that and never came back. There's no hospital record of her, no her using bank statements, not a phone call, nothing, no record of Debbie anymore. So obviously this is alarming for Wilda. So she immediately approaches Howard and is like, listen, husband, sit right down. I got some questions to ask you. And he says, I have nothing more to tell you. Like, why would I possibly lie about something like this? I mean, she left on her own free will. I think it was mental health issues. So she forgets about his first wife for now. And then slowly weirder things start happening. So Wilda's at work one day. She walks outside her workplace and her car's parked and Howard's standing on the side of like the car. So she turns around and sees the entire side of the car is all dented up. So she's like, what the fork happened? And he says, I was trying to teach Kelly how to drive and she had driven it on like to like a ditch. And I mean, she's fine, but it was a really scary experience. Wilda's like, oh, God, well, I'm glad that she's okay, but wow, that's quite an accident. Did you do anything? And he was like, no. But also Kelly, she feels so bad. I think it would be best if you never mention it with Kelly. Ever. And so a couple weeks pass, she gets the insurance check mailed out to her in her name. She opens up the mail, she gets that check, and she goes and gets a new car. And Howard is like, what the fork is that? He was so mad, and his exact statement was, why didn't you talk to me about it? Like, I thought we were gonna split the check. And then they moved on from that. A couple years pass, and that's when they decide that they're gonna sell their house and build a new house. Wilda's getting invested, but then every single day that they would be sitting on the ground watching TV, he would look to her out of nowhere and say, you know, we could just start a little fire. She'd always say, what, Howard? What are you talking about? And he says, think about it. We burn this house to the ground, we pay off what little we owe on it, and the insurance money would cover the build, and we wouldn't have to pay for new land, we wouldn't have to sell anything, we could get it done exactly as we want. So Kelly became a teenager, and she started hanging out with a bunch of friends, specifically teenagers who loved underage. Howard, he was really upset by this because he wanted to be a part of Kelly's life and he felt that his little daughter was drifting away from him. So he felt like if he was in her friend group, they could be friends too. So Howard starts hanging out with all of Kelly's friends. So two of Kelly's best friends were Samantha and her boyfriend Adam. He was almost closer to Samantha and Adam than Kelly was, and also Howard would constantly go to the store, buy for the kids, and they would all drink together. There would be times where Wilda would come home from work and Howard would be passed out on the couch with the kids, like with the teenagers. And so she's like, oh no. So she would wake him up, slap him around and be like, I don't think so, boo-boo. And then the next time that she came home, there were 20 teenagers like just in her living room passed out. There were bottles everywhere, cans, there were bottles everywhere, and she's like, oh, like, this is so freaking illegal. She finds Howard in the bedroom. She wakes him up and she's like, this is unacceptable. And he comes up with this crazy sob story. He's like, listen, Wilda, you don't understand. These kids come from troubled homes, you know, so troubled. Their parents don't like them. Their parents hate them. And so I am like a parent to them, and I provide them with like a parent does. And she's like, do you hear yourself? You sound crazy. From that point on, she never saw anyone knocked out at her house, but she knew people were coming. So at this point, she's getting more and more sick of Howard. And then finally, New Year's Eve. So she comes home. She was expecting to spend the night with Howard, and nobody is home but her kids. So Howard and Kelly are both gone. She waits up all night, kind of worried about them. And then the next morning, they walk into the front door acting like they just had a dandy good old time. So she's like, where were you on New Year's Eve? And he says, oh, like me and the kids, we rented like a motel and we were just. She was like, okay, like I'm packing the bags, I'm taking my kids. Wilda's divorced from Howard, and she starts reconnecting with her Uncle Sam. He was just one of those old people who were like super chill, just had funny stories, would listen to you, they had time for you. And one day he's not picking up the phone, and she calls him tomorrow, and he's not picking up the phone again. And then the next day, and not picking up the phone. So she calls all of her relatives, like, have you guys talked to Uncle Sam? And they're like, oh, I think the last time I talked to him was maybe a week ago, maybe 5 days ago. So she immediately reaches out to Howard, and she says, hey, Howard, I know that you were close with your former stepdad. Uncle Sam was Howard's stepdad back in the day. And he's like, oh yeah, I talked to him. He was talking about going to buy an RV or something. Next morning, she wakes up and she's like, I can't do this. I need to go find him. So she immediately calls up all of her relatives and is like, hey, I'm going to Uncle Sam's house. Can anyone come with me? Howard was immediately like, I'll go with you for sure, right? So they go together. The house itself, there was no signs of struggle. There was nothing broken. The bed was made. Everything was in pristine condition. And Howard was constantly just kind of like looking around. It seemed like Howard was more on edge than anyone else. And Howard's like, it's fine, you know Uncle Sam, he's buying an RV, let's go, like I got places to be. And then she sees Uncle Sam's medicine on his bathroom counter. He takes that medicine every single day. So she leaves the house, and then she immediately starts calling her other relatives, not Howard, and she's like, oh, we gotta do something. So they all go to the police station together, and they file a missing persons report. They decided to make posters of Uncle Sam and just place them all over northern Georgia, and they start getting some tips and calls. That's when they reach out to the credit card companies to get all of the statements for where the charges were attempted to be placed. And so then they go to those businesses and they ask for like the CCTV footage. At this point, the police gets involved, and one of them showed Howard and the teenagers, Samantha and Adam, purchasing. At this point, she's so freaking confused. Wilda immediately goes to Howard's door. And he's like, what are you talking about, Wilda? Howard's entire story was that, well, Uncle Sam gave me these credit cards because I gave him cash. And Wilda's like, nothing you can possibly say about this situation makes sense. So then Wilda goes about and she's like, okay, well, I still want to look for Uncle Sam. So she's putting out more missing posters, and then all of a sudden she gets a call from the police department. They say, hey, you need to come in because your ex-husband has been arrested. And so that would get the conversation flowing in a natural way. She's like, yeah, let's just watch some TV. And she's nervous as hell because Betty is known for having guns, and it seems like she would do anything for her son. So she's sitting there, they turn on the news, and that's when they hear about the storage bodies, and Betty goes, they found the kids. Aunt is like, oh my god, what do we do? What do we do? You are Howard's ex-wife. You can try to talk to the police and get a visit in jail, because for right now, they're not letting us visit him because the storage unit was under my name, and for some reason, they just won't allow the visit to happen. The police actually let her go talk to Howard, and that's when they get a confession out of him. So immediately she sits down, they're talking through the phone, and she's like, did you do it? He says, yeah, I did. I blew their brains out. She asked him why he did it. Howard said that the two kids went over to rob Uncle Sam. So they went to go rob him, but they ended up killing him. So Howard said he got so pissed off at these kids because how could you do something so evil, but how could you do it to my stepdad? So he immediately grabbed his gun and shot both of them till they were dead. And so Wilda was so freaking confused by all of this. The two bodies in the storage units were confirmed to be Samantha and Adam, and then he was charged with both their murders. He was sentenced to death. Uncle Sam's body was found in the woods on Lookout Mountain in North Georgia. Howard helped them find his bodies. This one was a weird one, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.